What's up, Stylosa? How you doing, man?
Not too bad. I've just come back from, well, I haven't just come back from BlizzCon, but when I was in LA for BlizzCon, it's quite, there's this thing in the sky, this big yellow thing, and it's quite nice to see. Well, since I've been back in the UK, I've not seen it. And I think I'm suffering from a bit of SAD, which I suppose you know all about being Swedish.
Yeah, man. The only tan I get is the tan from my monitor, basically. Like it's kind of dark.
Have you got one of those lights? Have you got like, you can buy lights, can't you, that sort of simulate the sun and are supposed to help? I don't know. I was told to buy one of them, but
no, I only got it like on my monitors and stuff. But I was thinking of getting like LED lights, just because it helps with the migraines quite a lot. But yeah, enough about my migraines. How do you feel? How do you feel about the upcoming patch? Like, what do you feel with the devs had this time? Like the tone in the changes compared to previously throughout the years.
I mean, so it's been a while since I've really been. I guess I've kind of fallen out of love with Overwatch, especially on the ladder. It's a bit of a drag to play. Double barrier, not great. I generally like playing hit scan heroes. You can't really play them into double barrier. It's not the best. So it's kind of nice to see that the devs are, it looks like, finally realizing that, yes, this is an FPS game. And it would be nice if they reduce the, the power level of barriers so we can see more sort of, I don't know, I guess skillful plays. I guess like when I look at the patch as a whole, I don't think I see anything wrong with this patch. That strikes me as a terrible change. It looks really good on paper. It's the age-old thing if we need to get this onto the live servers and actually get the pros playing it in proper games instead of pissing about with scrims and whatever. Well, especially the pugs. But I think for me, it's when you look at the tanks and you play Orisa, you just put the barrier down and you sit behind your barrier and you fire into the enemy Orisa barrier. It is terrible to play. So I like that they're kind of removing the power level slightly from the barriers and giving it to an activatable ability as in Fortify for Orisa, and doing the same type of thing with Sigma as well. Makes the tanks a little bit more, I guess, skillful, interactive to play. Skillful is not the right word, but makes it more interactive. It just really wasn't interactive before.
Yeah. Would you say that maybe they, increase the skill floor instead of, or maybe just increase the skill ceiling, like the amount of options you have by having more armor instead of relying on the shield?
Yeah, definitely. So I think you're definitely going to be able to tell a decent Orisa player from just an average Orisa player. Whereas right now, you just drop your barrier down, provided it's in the a decent position, you're going to perform. It's kind of like Moira, right? So everyone can kind of play Moira to an okay level. These changes on PTR mean that you are going to see the Orisa players that have got skill, and the same for Sigma players as well. I think as well, another knock-on effect of this is there's definitely going to be more emphasis on LOS play. And I don't know if players are going to be used to that, especially on ladder, because it's very easy to stand behind a barrier and just fire away brainlessly. Now, the barriers won't be there as much. So you're going to have to be... I don't know. Like I look at this patch and I'm like, Blizzard, why haven't you given us this patch like ages ago? And I know when I say that as the major criticism of a patch, generally, for me, that makes it feel like it's a good patch. Why hasn't it come out earlier,
Yeah, it feels like almost every, tier in rank, like even up to GM, but maybe not 4.4K, high up in GM, they've been struggling with proper LOS positioning and just understanding, like, what makes a good angle, what makes a bad angle, like, how do you break a line of sight, should you break it, etc. And we could even see it in Overwatch League with, for example, Justice when they played Goats early on, or how Shock, for example, had their Reinhardt super, always like on really, really good positions, but as soon as Orisa comes in with double shield and you can literally stand anywhere, that positioning or like that good positioning no longer gives as huge of a value. So if you have this, the fundamentals, you no longer, it's no different from
No, I agree. I agree with what you're
saying.
saying. I guess like another example of this, I mean, if you go back to Goats and you look at all the DPS players that were forced to play Brig, that's terrible. And that's completely because of the design direction or the balance direction of the game. And when the devs can't see that coming, it is very worrying, right? Because you don't want to, you don't want to see DPS players playing Brig. You want to see them playing DPS heroes. And this patch to me looks very much like that. They're saying, look, we're nerfing the barriers. we're changing, like Reinhardt's faster when he's got his barrier out, so we're expecting him to get into the combat potentially quicker. We're completely destroying Sigma's barrier, which is, I honestly think we're not going to see too much Sigma as a result of that, because that was where most of his power lied, in my opinion. Where it was so frustrating to play against. I know obviously Sigma's got a fantastic kit, and he's basically got an answer for everything. But that barrier, massively obnoxious. But now that's not there. Yeah, we're going to see DPS players playing DPS heroes. Hey, or at least I hope. Anyway.
Speaking of DPS, which one are you going to look forward to the most?
So I'm pretty sad, right? I know this is not going to happen, but Soldier's my favorite hero. I'd love to see Soldier coming back, but I just can't see it. I mean, it's still he's like, for me, he's like Ashe, where it's going to be really difficult to make them work just because there simply are barriers. It doesn't matter if the barrier is like 100 HP barrier or whatever, it's still going to mess those heroes up. I don't know, like I think we'll probably see a bit more Widow, I suspect, although it's a difficult one, like, because you kind of like, I end up getting confused between what I want to see played at a pro level and like what I want to play on ladder and play against. And I guess when you compare the both, it kind of doesn't really matter. I mean, people generally do whatever they want to do on ladder anyway. So it's just like whatever.
Would you maybe say that variety on ladder is more of a goal compared to in pro play? You want to see like sick stuff or like inspiring plays, and on ladder when you play yourself, maybe you don't want to play the same thing all the time, because I would guess even Soldier can get monotone at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you go back to GOATS and you look at the way GOATS was played, like from a spectator point of view, it was often very difficult to, for the average viewer to work out what's going on. It's much more easier for them to work out Widow is getting multiple headshots, or McCree's popping off, or Tracer's playing really well. And it was always baffling to me that Blizzard went in the direction of allowing balance to remain how it was for long periods of time, with metas that were not really very conducive. This is high level pro metas, like that were not conducive with a very good viewing experience. Because one of the issues with Overwatch is it's very difficult as a caster, or for the casters, to explain what the hell is going on when there's literally 50 things happening in 10 seconds and they can't possibly do it. So it becomes very difficult for the average player to understand what the hell is happening. So from like a purely like from that point of perspective, I still don't understand why Blizzard have been so slow changing certain things in the game, just to get rid of that. But obviously the great irony of this is GOATS, as you know, it was very interesting to watch if you knew what was happening.
Would you say that the new form of GOATS is interesting? I'm not sure if you've seen much of Pugs, but Orisa Reinhardt is played a lot. Orisa Winston, Orisa Ball. Even sometimes you have Reinhardt Winston, and that combo, like even before GOATS, it didn't make sense, and it still doesn't make sense to me at least. Now, what would you say, like if you were a caster or maybe just watching a game, how would you react to something like that?
Well, I mean, I mean, I know you've been watching a lot of the pro pugs. I've caught some myself, but it's obviously, nobody knows what the meta is at the moment. There's a lot of experimenting going on. I think what I want to see is, I do not want to see mirror matchups in the tank department over and over and over again. That is so frustrating to me to play on ladder and to watch. It's really annoying. I think the state of Orisa on PTR now, she's more enjoyable to play. A power level is kind of shifted around a bit from a barriers more to a kind of individual survival. But I think when you look at the other tanks, I don't think there's much value in Orisa Rhine and Orisa Rhine. Simply because I look at those two heroes and they're doing completely different things. Like, what actually is Reinhardt achieving while Orisa is sitting behind a barrier firing away? What's the Reinhardt doing?
Exactly.
Just play a hog. Or just play somebody else. Even play Sigma. That's my issue with that comp. I've seen it played over and over again in the pro EU pugs, and I don't know why. I don't know why they're doing it.
Yeah, like for example, when I see a Roadhog against any Reinhardt, instantly I feel like, okay, old Roadhog wouldn't do as much, or like before the patch, but now because of, for example, a small adjustment that buffed Reinhardt, his passive, the steadfast passive, whatever it's called, that's counted by Holog, for example. So I saw that you played some Roadhog yourself on and made a video of it. How did you feel about Roadhog yourself, like when playing him on PTR? Like, did you ever face Reinhardt and like feel that the whole log against Reinhardt is pretty much the same as when an Orisa fortifies?
Yeah, I know. I think I like honestly. I mean, my hot take right now is it's Orisa Hog. That's the tank meta. That's going to be what everyone's probably going to roll. I mean, obviously we had Orisa Hog before. We know the hold hook combo is pretty good. I think we're going to see a lot of that. The thing with Hog is with all the barrier nerfs, Hog can just delete the barriers, and it is because of course he had the ammo buff, didn't he? Where he's got 6 now instead of 5 in the previous patch. So he is just completely designed to destroy barriers. And the other thing with Hog is he's really survivable as well. And if the enemy team are running Reinhardt generally doesn't do too much to Hog anyway. Hog was always kind of okay against Ryan. Now he's even better. And he's good against Sigma as well. So if they're whatever reason running a Sigma, you can hook the Sigma through his sock. So it's just Hog. I think it feels like really old Hog on the PTR. Like you can kind of just do your own thing again. You know you've got a lot of individual survivability. You know you can burn barriers down if you need to. Yeah, I don't know. I just find it really difficult when I look at the other tanks. Who would you pair with the Orisa? Like you look at D.Va and you're like, okay, D.Va's got the defense matrix buff. Is that enough?
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. Especially if the other team have got a Hog.
I would assume that Hog is maybe more, you give more DPS power, so to say, to the tank line and front line. While if you have a D.Va, maybe you can fit in like a McCree or something, you know, that you want to pocket, because the shield will break for even with Hog, for example. But then if you have a McCree and there's no protection, he only has like 2 big meat shields, so to say, to hide behind if he wants protection or corners.
Like talking of like pure barrier break as well, I think Baptiste is obviously quite good at this. I think Baptiste could probably come in as, you know, maybe the go-to support everybody starts running, because he is I don't want to say people have been sleeping on him, because I don't think they have, but they've been forced to play Moira quite a lot. So yeah. I don't know. Maybe we see Baptiste. I'd like to see Baptiste coming, because I enjoy playing Baptiste myself. And again, he's one of those heroes that is enjoyable to watch at the pro level, right? Moira is not enjoyable to watch. Brig was not enjoyable to watch. Orisa was not enjoyable to watch. And when they just, you know, they traditionally win a lot of the metas, it's not great.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the support alliance as well. So old Brig, she wasn't that, how to say, engaging at all, and I totally agree. No. But what about the new Brig? If let's say Genji's come back or Winston and all that, and the whip suddenly becomes a vital skill, how to say, that you must hit.
Yeah, like I mean, so I kind of look at it this way, right? If she starts playing against the Genjis and the Tracers, yes, she becomes very good to have on your team. But also, if you've got a Genji and a Tracer as well, because of the armor buff, she's actually quite good with them as well. Whether it's good enough to, you know, roll her over like, I don't know, any other support in that way, because I still got some reservations on her just pure healing output. I'm not too sure if it's enough, but I think she needs to make up for it in other areas. So I don't know. Like, I do agree with what you just said there. She obviously is really strong against Genjis and whatever if they start coming back into the game. Well, you could even throw Anna into this as well. You know, do we start seeing Nanoblade coming back? Like, I don't know.
What would you say would be the strongest second support with BAP, for example? What would you like, sort of say, to see?
I really don't want to say Moira, but I'm probably going to say Moira. Okay, just forget Moira exists. I'd like to see more Lucio. I think like if you had BAP, Lucio, Ryan Zarya, that could be quite good. And like I'm hoping something like that ends up countering just the Orisa sitting on the point with the Sigma or the Hog, or even the Orisa Reinhardt. Because maybe you could just run past the Orisa and then just kill people. The problem is Orisa is quite, you know, she's quite good anyway. So I don't know.
So I assume Lucio would be really good on attack, for example. But on defense, you don't have to, how to say, speed all the time, since you can set up like really far away with some support. Would you say maybe Zen fits in then, or is he still too squishy?
I think Zen. Yeah, like, I really wish Zen would come back, but I think out of all of the supports, Zen is the weakest at the moment. I think the problem Zen's got is with the double barriers, even with nerfed barriers. Zen, yes, he's got his Orb of Harmony out. Okay, he's got a bit of healing there. Yes, he's got Transcendence. That's great. He's got like literally the best ability in the game in Discord Orb, but then he's not able to do damage, which is what Zen is all about, right? And he's like an artillery platform. That's kind of how I always viewed him. I mean, just look at last year with double barrier everywhere, goats everywhere. There's the traditional Zen players everybody was watching to pop off were just doing nothing because they couldn't play Zen.
Yeah.
So it's really sad. Again, this goes back to the whole thing of like, why are Blizzard allowing metas like this to be a thing when it's taking away a lot of the draw from people watching these fantastic players pop off on their heroes. Instead, they get to watch somebody just flail around with Brig. It's like, really frustrating.
So speaking about who will benefit from the patch, what do you think the patch will affect Spitfire? Like, in which way would it be affecting Spitfire?
Well, Spitfire. So, I mean, obviously, people know that I work with Spitfire, and like, it was interesting, Spitfire, with the whole rebuilding process. I remember when we looked at the roster after season 2, because a lot of this, Peak, and a lot of people obviously know this watching the video, but Spitfire were never really that good. Like, yeah, okay, they won season 1 and they had the potential to like really pop up. You talk about skill ceiling. Spitfire had a fantastically high skill ceiling, but you didn't really know what Spitfire was going to turn up. There was only a few players who were really consistent, Prophet being the best example of that. Other players like Birdring, very hot and cold, but if they performed, it would be awesome. But obviously, if you don't know the players are going to perform, it's a bit of an issue. So yeah, last season was not great. Probably a lot of people expected that, I think, internally, which was a bit of a shame. But this season, there's a few options, right? What do you do? If you keep Prophet, you can probably attract another high-tier DPS. So, imagine if you had Prophet and Fleta, for example, could be really strong. 2 really consistent DPS players there, which is what Spitfire didn't have before. The rest of the team then, probably still would be workable. I think Spitfire could have always benefited with another tank. Only having Gesture as the main tank was a bit
limiting.
Players get a bit comfortable, I think, as well. You need the competition in the positions. Of course, obviously, we know what's happened with Spitfire now. Once the Prophet and Gesture deal went through, it became quite apparent that it would be very difficult now to start attracting high-tier players. So what do? You've got a few options, right? You either rebuild the roster Western and just go for like an advertising perspective, if I can even say that, like just say, hey, look, we've got all these personalities on the team. It's from the EU predominantly. Let's go. This is the team. But then realistically, where would you, what would your goals be that season? I mean, maybe you become Paris of last year, and you don't really want to be Paris of last year. The other thing as well is if you go for, you don't want a mid-table Korean roster as well, because that would be seen as a failure. So what do you do? Well, of course, like you can see what Spitfire have done with highly fused Shui, JMac, Bernard, Sanguinov, Glister, Krillin. Of course, how can I forget Krillin? And more players to be announced as well soon. But it's a rebuild. It's a complete rebuild. Where the team will go, I don't know, but it's a fresh start. I just think it's frightening as like a Spitfire fan and somebody who obviously works with Spitfire to see a complete rebuild, to see the players that we had and the players that were let go. It's fine the players were let go. The rebuild direction of let's go in and let's pick up, good level contenders players from Korea. It's fine. Anything's possible. I mean, this has been a very long-winded answer to your question, but
no worse.
When I look at Spitfire and I think what can happen with the meta, because it's completely new meta, it kind of makes me feel a bit more positive for the team, because we're not going the new meta should not be similar to what we've seen before. I hope so. They come in with a fresh team, they come in a fresh meta. Anything can happen, and we've seen it before time and time again. When the meta changes in Overwatch, teams will rise to the top very quickly, and then it's, can the team stay at that level? Shock did it last year. Titans did it last year. Spitfire didn't do it last year. They were terrible.
Yeah, I was about to touch on that as well. Like, how do you, obviously you can't tell like sensitive stuff, but how would you sort of gauge the direction Blizzard will take now? Like, before this, they buff shields or whatever, and then suddenly they take a complete 180 and now change the pace of the game completely. there's some like, and I know like players teams, etc. They get to sit in with the dev team and like give feedback and stuff, and there's some information, but over, like in general, you don't get to know all the changes until they come. And do you have like a special trial method? Do you like set the players in a different so to say simulated meta, or how do you go about it?
I mean, with like in terms of what you get told from Blizzard, we knew about roll queue earlier. All the teams knew about roll queue before that came in. You don't know about meta, you don't know about PTR patches, and literally until they drop, it's like, oh, there's a change. Okay, we didn't expect that. At Spitfire, I remember last year when we had God, because they really thought that Sombra was going to be extremely meta. So God was an example of picking up a player who's highly specialized in one role, one hero, and then it didn't really work out. And it's like, okay, that's not great. I mean, I like to think with this stuff is as time goes on, players become less like known for an individual hero and more they can spread their sort of wings across different heroes, and then that makes them usable. The problem is you're always going to get with Overwatch, there will be teams that will just win the meta gamble. Spitfire won this with the season 1 playoffs. It just hit just at completely the right time. The players fell into a really good place. Team morale was really high, and everyone popped off. And it's like, okay, well, you win the season, that's fine. It's a completely different team now. So in terms of future proofing, I don't know the direction the team are looking to go right now. What I can say is based off things that have happened in the past, because you've got to remember when we had the 12-man roster originally, I remember that was like, hey, man, you know, what we're going to do is all these awesome internal scrims. We've got the 2 best Korean teams here. We'll just scrim each other and it'll be fantastic. Of course, that didn't work out. And then when we cut the roster down, that's when Spitfire really started performing again.
Yeah.
There was other things as well, like the team moved to their own, we moved house from apartments to an actual house so they could be together. So stuff like that helped the team. And then, yes, the meta really helped them. So I don't know. I feel like it's impossible to build a team looking for the future when you've got no idea what Blizzard are going to do. You can look at this PTR patch now and go, in fact, look at this PTR patch. Look at the time frame this has come out. All the teams have already picked up their players. So, like, what the hell, Blizzard? You know what I mean? Like, unless you want to spend tons of cash and build a massive roster and really go after all the best players and, you know, multiple slots. I mean, when you look at this Spitfire roster, there's 2 DPS players at the moment. There's no, like, specialist hit scan.
Yep.
So, if you fall into a Widow meta, well, what then?
Yeah, either you have to adapt or you need to just pick up some player who is gonna deliver right now on it.
Yeah, and who would that be? These are the problems.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, you know, I mean, you know about this, Pete. You know about this stuff anyway. But it's just like, it is frustrating. Yeah, and I've got to say as well, like, it's not like I'm making decisions with Spitfire teams or anything. You know, I'm just part of the, you know,
process.
We do stuff helping with like marketing and stuff like that. So, but we do see stuff that's going on, and it's cool to see it. But this is it's a new slate, clean slate for Spitfire. It's like, get in there. What's going to happen? It's going to be fun to watch. Could crash and burn. Could work really well. We just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that goes for a lot of teams. Like, you have Paris right now, who is half European and half Korean, and it's difficult to mesh like cultures that are so different and make it work. Like, it's a risk, and obviously they have really competent staff, so they can do a lot of things. Then you have, for example, Fusion, who has mixed coaches, but mostly Korean players. It's that stuff as well. Like, it can work and it can also not work, and it's going to be interesting for sure. Like, I'm very excited about this patch, not just the patch, but how it'll affect stage 1, because it feels like stage 1 is usually whoever has the best understanding of the game, or like the game knowledge before the stage comes, they will just do well in stage 1, and then during stage 1 transitioning to stage 2, that's when the teams that adapt well shine. Like, you don't have to be the best in stage 1 to become the best in stage 2.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, yeah, you look at the Spitfire from season 1. Well, they won stage 1, so that was great. And then they were trash for all the other stages, and then just picked it up at the end. It was like, I remember sitting there thinking, God bless the playoff system, because I mean, if it was a league system, NYX had won ages ago. You know, me being British and watching the Premier League, a league, like, it's always been weird to me to watch like playoff systems instead of just a straight up league format. But I believe playoff systems are way more interesting to watch. yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, I think the when you look at the teams that have gone mixed roster, Korean, and then NAEU players, it's Fusion obviously didn't work too well last season. Shock obviously did work quite well. So I don't know. Like, I think the jury's out on that. We're not really too sure what's going to happen, I guess, with teams like Paris. Paris on paper could be much better than they should be much. They can't be worse than there was last season. If they are, then there's massive problems at Paris there. And I guess just for me, like, I like supporting the British players, and obviously all the players from the Seven Lions as well. So like, I like watching Paris for Cruise, Boston for
Fusions
as well. Yeah. So even if they get destroyed, I'll still be there watching them. And of course, Fusion for Boombox as well.
Yeah. All right, man.
I think he's good. Anyway, like, just to give you my final thoughts on this, I think this patch is good. I think this is great because what we're going to see is less barriers. We're going to see, hopefully, DPS players playing DPS at the pro level, which will make it more interesting to watch. I just hope that we get to see more variety in the matchups. I don't want mirror matchups over and over again. I don't want this on ladder. I don't want tanks having to play Orisa, tanks having to play Hog, and that's just literally it. You can't play anything else. I want variety, and I hope that over time Blizzard can do this. I just think that the biggest barrier to this right now is there is not enough heroes in Overwatch. They need more heroes in the game.
Yeah, I really hope to see like them ramping up the heroes, because I don't know, it feels like it's slow almost intentionally, because I don't know, some strategy with like the casuals like using up all how to say, spending all their attention on one hero, and then once that's depleted, push out the next one, which is gonna lead to stagnant pro metas, for example, and then leads to lower viewership, I guess.
You always get the thing with like a new hero in a game. It's like, hey, the hero's super OP just because we want to sell skins or whatever. I mean, what I'm honestly hoping is that obviously we're waiting for Overwatch 2 now. I hope that when that launches, there's like 10 new heroes that just drop with the game. It's like, boom, there you go. That's what the game needs. Honestly, you know, if that happens, that would be
huge. Yeah,
it would be huge. People want PvE, and that's fine. You know, I'll enjoy playing PvE, but Overwatch, and the reason we all play it right now is because it's a PvP game. So we want more heroes, not maps. Fix Paris as well. Terrible map.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna get fixed. That and Horizon.
Yeah.
All right, man. It was nice having you here. Do you have anything you want to plug before we wrap this up? Do you have any like stuff going on, or just some social media links, or?
I guess if you guys just Google Stylosa, you'll find me. youtube.com/UnitLostTube, at Stylosa on Instagram, at Stylosa on Twitter as well. And I think that's it. /Stylosa on Twitch as well.
Nice.
Beautiful. Thank you, Peak. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, man. Have a good day, and see you later. Make sure that you subscribe. Really helps a lot if you subscribe, and leave a comment if you like the content. Let me know what you think. Do you have any own opinions, thoughts, ideas, questions? Feel free to let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Hope you like it, and I'll see you later.